going to be the main page for the Concur Travel and Expense site. It's going to be the URL concursolutions.com. So www.concurSolutions.com. Now, you've received your username and temporary password. I am there to the temporary password because it's highly secure. It may be a little difficult to type in. We highly suggest that you copy and paste the link into the password area, just to eliminate the amount of error you may have trying to type in that word. So again, it's just best if you copy and paste. Once you set up that generic password, it's going to prompt you to enter a secure password and also a password hint. This hint can be whatever you want it to be, a question, a word, a phrase, just something that's going to help you remember your password in the event that you forget. Okay? So if you do happen to forget, you can click here on the password, your password link, and be provided with that link. Now, employees should have received this password no later than September 24th. And if you didn't receive it, you can contact Concur Travel at huber.com, or you can contact Annie DeYoung directly. So now log in to Concur Travel and Expense with our new secure password that we've changed it to. And we're going to be taken to a page called the My Concur homepage. Now, before I get started talking about this page and any of the details, I want to bring two things to your attention. Yours will have the same tabs. You'll see the trip search, the travel info, the travel alerts, and so on. The only difference between my site and your site is the color scheme. Again, as a test user, so please do not allow that to alarm you when you go into your own site. Another key difference is when you're acting on behalf of someone else, you're going to see that delegation area here versus at the top next to the American Express Online logo. So let's start looking at this page. Let's talk about travel first, and then we'll go into expense. And if you just hold with me, we'll cover the travel information, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes, which is how to create and submit, as well as approve an expense report. There's a trip search here, a travel info, and please be aware of what's under the travel info tab. As you can see, you're going to see important numbers, who to contact, so please be aware of what's here. If I scroll down, and I'll go into these areas in more detail as we get to the expense portion, you'll see company info, expense reports, and available corporate card charges. All of those items are on this page, so it's really a one-stop shop to create your expense reports and book travel. You do have tabs across the top. For example, we do have a travel tab, which will take us directly into the travel area. You'll have the same items you see here, minus the expense information. We do see an expense tab, where we can do charges, view the ability to create reports, but you saw those same items are here on this page. So as I said again, there's really no need for you to leave this page. So the first thing we need to do before we begin the process of booking travel is go into our travel profile, make sure that all the required fields have been completed. If you do not complete those required fields, you will not be able to complete the booking process. So it's very important that you do. You need to have your travel profile updated prior to October 1st, but travel bookings will not be available to then anyway. So you'll need to make sure that this is all done by October 1st. So if I have my mouse over the Profile tab, I have shortcuts that I could go to, but I'm going to actually click on the tab itself. When I do, you're going to see a series of shortcuts in the center of the page, and you'll see links along the side. The area called Your Information and Travel Settings is geared towards travel. And of course, Expense Settings is more geared toward expense. So very similar to the My Concur page, your travel profile and expense profile can be located on the Profile tab. I on any of these shortcuts to be my travel profile, or to jump to, let's say, the work address or home address of any of those different areas, I can use the links across the top of the page or on the side of the page. You need to just update that one item. Now, the first thing to do is look at our name. The name that we see here needs to match the identification that you will be using when you check the airport, a hotel, or car rental, because it's the name that all of your reservations will be in. Please ensure it matches.
If you see discrepancies, and as you can see, you not update them, you will need to contact your local HR rep, which will then notify the card administrator, and they'll contact Annie. So it's a process that needs to occur. So again, if you find something incorrect, contact your local HR rep. Now, training session, for the sake of time, I'm going to point out the required fields, additional fields that may be a little bit more important than others. So the next area we're going to talk about is the required field under company information. Please make sure that your employee position or title is entered. As you can see with the bold orange letters, it is required. The required area is the contact information. You will need at minimum your work phone, your mobile phone, and home phone will need to be entered. If items are not entered, you will begin back to this page when you begin to complete a travel booking. Now, our Huber email address here, but it's also, that's the key word, also like your emails, which are copies of your itineraries, to go to another email address, enter it here under email 2 or 3 and check the box. And without any travel-related information, it will be sent to all the email addresses listed here. Moving to the page, one area that's not required but very important is travel preferences. And you can use preferences for air, hotel, or car rental. And what this does, let me give the example of air. If you not select your seat assignment when creating that reservation and have these items set up, like I always want a window or an owl, the system will attempt to get you that type of seat or a hotel with a certain, let's say, double beds or king beds or non-smoking or smoking. So setting this up will make things easier for you. And for those who are a member of a frequent traveler program, you can add those programs here by clicking the Add a Program link. Now that you can only add 5 programs, but that's not true. You can add them in increments of 5. I'll just add my first 5, save, and come back into the Add a Program link and add the next 5. Simply select the type of carrier, the vendor, and alert number. Now, you have the box to search for this vendor, but I do want you to be aware that if your company's policies override the ability to see this vendor, maybe this vendor is the most expensive or that policy may be, and just so they're not always searching for that vendor and they're not there. Moving on, and it's required, another one is the TSA Secure Flight. You will enter your gender, your date of birth, and those of you who have DHS redress number, you will enter it here. If you've been informed that you need a DHS redress number, we have the link to tsa.gov available for you. Ability to set up an assistant or travel arranger. Now, our travel arranger is a person that I am going to specify, and this person will log into their own account. They will see my name in a drop-down at the top of the screen. When they see my name, they will be in my account, and they will be able to create a travel reservation for me. It will hit my corporate card that I have on my file, but yet the reservation will be for me. Now, again, you'll need to set up this travel arranger by going into Add an Assistant, this individual, and checking the Can Book Travel For Me checkbox. And see here, Tessie is my travel assistant or arranger. So page, see credit cards. This should be the corporate card, and it's going to be populated. As you begin to try to enter other credit cards, you're going to see that it's not allowed. You will only be able to enter your corporate card, and it will be populated. You just need to make sure that is correct and it's populated. Verify that all this information is correct. You can leave this page. Several save buttons throughout. It doesn't matter which one we select. They all will save the entire page. And leave a confirmation in the upper right corner letting you know that it has been saved. So we'll come through and view all the important information. You need to make sure you go to the loyalty program for that website and update your credit card information there as well. Go back to the My Concur homepage. You can see that we can begin travel, but just move the curiosity. Let's go to the Travel tab. So what I show you, it's going to provide the same information, except it only is going to be related to travel. You have a map, which I tend to use frequently when I'm traveling to a location that I'm not sure which airports are there. For example, traveling to Montana. I just click into that particular state and it will show me all the airports, and I can select the airport that I'm needing to fly into. Start from here. The first tab we have is the Air Rail tab. I bet it's an all-in-one because not only can I reserve a flight, I can rent a car and a hotel. There are going to be situations where you will only need a car or you will only need a hotel. In situations, you'll click on just those tabs. But we're going to reserve all three. On the type of trip, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enter either the city name or the airport code. So I was leaving Newark, and it'll show me all the airports or select the particular airport in which I'm wanting to fly out of. I'm going to do the same for my arrival city. And in this example, I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to enter my departure date and results down by a particular departure or arrival time. And you can increase the numbers before and after that arrival time in which you want to see flights. Let's repeat for our return. We reserve a car, so we're going to pick up and drop off a car at the airport. We also wish to reserve a hotel. Notice that when we decide to reserve a hotel, we have more options available to us. So what we do in this example is select the number of miles from a reference point or zip code. And then this is great if you're going to a client site and you're trying to get as close as possible to that site. A option is to look at the arrival city and find all the company locations near it, and you will see them in the drop-down. So that's how this works. So you'll just select the one you want. Let's say we're going to Kennesaw, and select the airport. Now, going to default with your arrival city airport. Notice there, you can change it if you're flying out of another airport. So let me go there. I'm going to make my screen a little bit larger. Now it caused me to have to scroll to the right and left more, but I comment that someone couldn't see the screen. Or you can maximize your settings. So now what we can do is we can select the hotel with a certain naming convention or directly to our flight information. I can search by refundable fares or the type of class of service. Now we have an option by price or by schedule. But I will not see the price until I select my outbound and my return, and only then will it give me the price. Well, if I select to search by price, what it's going to do, it's going to patch together two better, and I will select from there. So click search. Now checked my profile, and instantly, if I did not update required fields, it would kick me back. Up and read the chat. Okay. The thing we have here is our flight results screen. I changed my flights at the last minute. Maybe I need to fly in on the 20th instead of the 19th. I go down my times, my days, and narrow down the price amount, displays, or I can expand the airports in which I'm going to fly in and out of. Before you decide to make a decision, it's important that you look at items that are related to your company's policy. You can see policy several ways. One, I can click on the policy tab and it will let me see my company's policy. So I'm never confused if I'm selecting a vendor that's out of policy. Okay. Next, see the reserve button. Reserve button being green is letting me know that it's within the company's policy. If the button is any other color but green, it's letting you know that it's out of policy. If it has to be yellow, it will be out of policy and require additional information from you, but you will need to continue. And if you ever see a red button based on your company's policy, it's not going to allow you to continue until it's approved. See that the scale diamond is next to certain vendors, indicating that these are the most preferred for our company. I can buy the number of stops or all vendors. That's how this will work. And also with Southwest, when I click here, it's going to open a pop-up window, take to the Southwest site where I can select those flights. Once I do, it's going to import that information back here into the system. So fly United. Notice it narrows down my results. I can see more like this. For example, if I love this outbound but not crazy about the return, I can click here. I can see details to see more information or even select my seat assignment. Instead, this is the flight that I'm wanting, so I'm going to click Reserve. You know, if it's non-refundable, if there's any policy or penalties, once you do, click OK. Now, right now, my corporate card has not been charged. What it's going to do is put a placeholder on those flights for me. You will see itinerary at least 2 times before this flight is confirmed and it is actually charged to your corporate card. So once you click Reserve, you're stuck. I don't want you to think that. So the next thing that it's going to do is going to take me to my car results screen, where I can my results. What do I want to select? Options again located to the right. We're going to our selections. Again, you have the ability to nail down your results. But I noticed a new icon called e-receipt enabled. If opt into the e-receipt program, and I'll show you where that's done. You will have this before you create this reservation. If you do, the vendors that are e-receipt enabled, if you select them, the receipt will import in from that vendor. This will be one receipt that you will need to lose, one less receipt that you'll need to attach to your report manually. So I'm going to click Reserve. Now I want you to be aware that not every vendor that's a car rental or a hotel is e-receipt enabled. So the e-receipts become important for you. Please always look for the e-receipt enabled icon. Now let's to see how close we are to our reference point. You're going to see the red is our reference point, and these greens are going to correspond with the numbers below. Let us see which hotel vendor they coincide with. I scroll down. It's become important to you. Notice you can see just e-receipt enabled vendors. You can buy neighborhood or by hotel chain or by amenity. What we're going to do is we're going to click Choose Room. See that this has stars, it's e-receipt enabled, but now I see more than one color. Remember, yellow means that it's out of policy and additional information will be required from me. Green lets me know that it's within policy. Select something out of policy, it's exactly why it is out of policy. So in a hotel, that's within policy, and then click Reserve. We have that have a cancellation policy or require a deposit. We use this before you decide to reserve this hotel. So change your mind if you need to. We agree with the terms, we agree that we've read it, and now we can continue. We're finally at our first of our itinerary, and we're almost finished with this travel reservation. What I want to point out to you is the first view of your itinerary, if I have a nickname for it, called the draft itinerary. You can actually modify or cancel this reservation process now. See, if I need to, I can change this leg or cancel all of my air. If I select to arrive, let's say the 18th, it will have the ability to change my car and hotel with one click. If I do add a car because I failed to do so, or an additional hotel, I can do that from this screen. So let's review everything to make sure that it's correct. And then see the airfare amount and the quote for the hotel and car. So if I'm ready to continue, I'm going to click Next. It takes the trip booking information page. Notice that my trip name is going to default to the name of my trip. We need to change this. The format will need to be the date plus customer and the location. So, and of course, can't remember. We're going to say that it's November 8th. Now I can include directions of my hotels and a map, and I just place this on hold. Keep in mind it's going to cancel as of this date and time. It's not going to provide you with a reminder, but it's going to cancel this reservation. ready to continue by clicking Next. This is a view of our itinerary. Please be careful. Make sure that everything is correct. If not correct, once you get to the bottom of the page, you can go back to that first view, which we call the draft. All right? And if you can just purchase the ticket. What happens is you're going to receive an email with a copy of this itinerary. If someone's travel arranger, you will receive a copy as well. This lets us know that we have completed creating this travel reservation. As I scroll down, I will print or email. Keep in mind, it's already emailed to me by default. And now return to the travel center. You will see your trip here. Now, if I click on the name, I have options. I can view it, I can email it, clone it, cancel it. Just be aware of the trip options available to you. So now travel back to the My Concur page. Now, completed this trip. Now for us to begin the expense portion of the call, because we expense this trip, we need to expense all portions of it. Then to travel, before I start, I need to review my expense profile. So let's begin that process by clicking on the Profile tab. Now the first one I want to look at is the items here in the expense settings. You're that expense approvers and information are only screens. Let me click here so that you can see it. All only, that doesn't make them any less important than these other areas. It's still important for you to come here and to ensure that you're set up correctly. If you find company codes incorrect or cost center or any portions of this page, please contact your travel administrator. Okay? Then we have is expense delegates. It can be added or removed this quickly, you'll see, as many times as you need. Now, as a delegate, I will log in as myself, and I'll do this to you later. And what will happen is you'll see a drop down, and you will be able to go into that person's account again to create and or submit reports on their behalf. You can click on Add and just search by their first or last name, email address, or their login ID. As I have to type in any portions, everyone within the organization who have these set of letters in their name will appear, and I can select their information. If you person to create the report and attach required documentation, make sure you have these boxes selected. View. We don't care if you do all the work, but we view it before it's submitted, because it's our report. If that's the case, you have the choice to give them the ability to submit or not. If you don't check this box, they receive, or not receive, I apologize, they will see a button that says Notify Employee. It will send an email letting them know that they've done everything. You just need to log in and make sure your report's correct, and you have to submit it. Here, if they submit it, check the box. This can use or receive emails. What will happen is they will receive all expense-related emails to your information as well. Now, these last two items can temporarily approve and receive approval emails. Approvers will not be able to delegate approval authority to someone else. If you are an approver and you need to give someone else approval authority, maybe because you're on vacation or out of the office for whatever reason, contact your card administrator or Annie DeYoung. They provide these access to the appropriate approval authority. Okay? Say, in this person's will have the ability to be my delegate that quickly. Move to expense preferences. You won't be able to turn off all email options, but there's a few that you have control of. If in these boxes, meaning that I want emails. If I uncheck the box, it means that I do not. Now, if you're receiving too many emails, that's okay, but I'm going to give you a suggestion. I ask that you leave the first selected, the list of expense report changes. This will let you know where your report is at all times. Once you submit, if it's approved, you'll receive an email. Back, you'll receive an email. Press email, paid, and so on. and having to log in to see the status. And approver, I suggest that you leave this item on as well. An expense report is submitted for approval. Each time something arrives in your approval queue, you know, because you receive an email letting you know that there's something here waiting for you. Just and click Save. I do a little disclosure. Uncheck these boxes for yourself. You're all unselecting them for your delegate. Now, I explained to you earlier that expense approvers is going to be read-only. Again, contact your administrator or Annie DeYoung if you find that it's incorrect. Here, we need to spend a little time on called Favorite Attendees. Each time you select an expense that deals with other attendees or may be entertainment in nature, you are required to list the attendees. I'm going to give examples. I'm going that this is going to be true for your company. They're just examples. Say that I am in the accounting department and it's month end. And this is a rough month and we're here at 8 o'clock at night trying to close the books. As a manager, I'm going to purchase dinner for my team since they're here so late. When I expense that meal, I will be required to list everyone that was present. Another example, I am a sales rep and I'm meeting with the client. Meet with that client over lunch or breakfast or dinner. I will be required to expense it, and when I do, I need to list everyone present. See, this list will contain both employees of your company and those who are not. If you're going to be working with this person frequently or submitting that may contain them frequently, please take the time and do it now. You're going to see later it's much faster. Or you do it on the fly when you're in the process of creating the report. Select New Attendee, and you complete all the required fields. A field is designated as required when it has a red bar located to the left corner. Once you add a new attendee, and I'm not going to do so in this example, be listed here until you delete them or you edit them. Once attendee is listed here, you can put them in a group. So let's say my accounting department's 10 people, and I don't have to add them one by one to my expense report. So as those individuals are listed here, I can go to attendee group. I can do whatever I want because no one else will see this name except me and my delegate, and check everyone that's a part of that group. So it makes it faster when I'm creating that expense report. Things that I want to point out before we leave the profile. One, e-receipt activation. I'm not going to click on it because I've already opted in, so at this point it's a blank screen. But remember, if you want those receipts to import in from a vendor, if you selected an e-receipt vendor, that is, you need to opt in first. It's known for your company, but it's the responsibility for every user to opt in. Just click here, read the terms and conditions, and agree or disagree. Next, change password. You can do that any time, but you'll need to know your current password in order to do so. So now to return to the My Concur homepage. Now go through this information. If you find any of it that you may forget or you may need to go back and review again, this is recorded. I also want to point out that there's a help topic here at the top of the screen. See training. As you go on it, you'll see all the different topics here that you can expand and view quick little demos on. You're going to see guides and references. So please be aware of what's under the Help tab. Also, the user guides are on the Huber Central Travel Intranet site and your welcome packets. So there's information there for you. Around the screen, you're going to see a company info section. Please read what's here. It can change frequently. This is going to provide you any commission that needs to go to you from your company. For example, what if, I forgot the steps to set up my site? We will see here, before using Concur Expense for the first time, you must do the following. I'll have a question in chat. So you're able to come here, and you can click links. Now, if I click here, it's going to replace your intranet site, so I can't get to it. see the links that are here. So please be aware of the information that's here. Moving to the expense report section. Expense reports section is going to contain all of your open and outstanding reports. By that is a report that has not been paid. Once it's paid, it's removed from here. Don't worry, you can go back and look at it, but to go to View Reports. View Reports as your filing cabinet with all of your reports, both current and historical. You can use this button to create a new report, or you go back into a report if needed. The card charges is going to be here. You're always going to see the credit card transactions that are waiting for you to add to an expense report. Each swipe your corporate card. It takes between 2 to 4 days before those items are imported here in the system. You will add a transaction manually if you know you use your corporate card. Have a little patience, a bit it's going to import in, and then you can add them to an expense report. Okay? So wait for the transactions to import in. This is based on the vendor. It's not the control of your company card or your company. As vendors submit their credit card transactions and your corporate card receives them, they're going to import them into your account. Now, these items can live here as you begin to create a report. Let's just for a report to support at the end of the month. And I'm waiting for these last couple of items to trickle in. I can those boxes and add to that existing report. Okay? I want to remind you that the goal of this was yesterday, September 17th, and you submitting reports on a monthly basis. Okay? So it's one per calendar month. So you can wait until those transactions are all here and add them, or you can create a report and slowly add them as they trickle in throughout the month. It's really up to you. So let's begin an expense report. New expense report button. It's going to the report header page. This is where I'm setting up my report. If you're confused as to what you need to enter, you'll note some of the screens have tooltips. Like this one reminds you it must be the 3-digit month and the 2-digit year. Submitting these on a monthly basis. So let's say that it's September 12th. See, that's month and that's the year. It's going to default to today's date, not going to impact anything, but we will default. And then you have the business purpose. This is where I'm going to explain in more detail what this report is about. Element, not required, but you may want to add additional information for your approver or for your own reference. So just enter something so that we can see where it's going to live later. And now we're going to click Next. Now I'm going to be taken into my report and begin adding items to my report. You're going to see all of your trips, and they're going to be named based on what you named them. If I had, let's say I had a 10th trip, another trip, you will see the trip and all the charges that are related to that trip. I want to point out an e-receipt to you. That's this little blue, looks like a lightning bolt in the center. That's an e-receipt. If I put my mouse over it, I will see the exact replica of the receipt that was provided to me by that vendor. Now you see how impactful it is. Exact replica. It is for airfare, hotel, and car rental vendors. It's a corporate card. You'll notice these are corporate card transactions, and just let me know that this is part of an itinerary. This hotel reservation, hotel, and airfare. I do want to give you another disclaimer. E-receipts tend to populate into the system before the credit card transaction. Never, ever, ever add e-receipt to a report unless the corporate card transaction has imported in and matched to it. How will it identify this? Well, if you see the e-receipt icon by itself, that lets you know that there's no credit card icon. Remember the credit card icon. Once credit card is finally imported into the system, it's going to find that e-receipt and match to it. data to my report is the next question. I can drop them in, or a faster way is I can just select those transactions that I wish to add to my report and then click Import. Recall, you will not be able to delete those transactions from your expense report. They're here until you add them to an expense report. Once you add them, notice we have these new, it's called an exception. An exception is always going to be explained here in the exceptions area, so know exactly what needs to take place in order to resolve it. For example, it's to be defined what type of expense entry this is. Now, with yellow, you will be able to continue, while with red, you will be able to submit until you resolve this exception. Please read the yellow exceptions, although you can continue, because it's something that needs to be brought to your attention. I'm going to add them so that you can see more on your screen. To delete, copy, or edit any of these expenses, just place your mouse anywhere on that line and click into them. And that's how to place them in edit mode. Required transaction feed populated the date, the vendor, the city, and the amount. It can do most of the work for me. It's not able to define what is the Waffle House. A hotel chain, a car rental, is it a restaurant? I will need to select the type of expense type that needs to coincide with this and save. Once I do, and I use my corporate card at the Waffle House again in the future, it's remember and know exactly what type of expense type it needs to be placed with. As it does it's always correct. So always double check your expense types just in case. If you delete an item, you can do well as long as it's in edit mode. Or need to delete multiple entries, check those boxes, and you see that you can delete in multiples. Again, I'm deleting them from the system. If I go back to import, you're going to see Waffle House and Avis will live here until you add them to an expense report. Continue. Let's begin our room rate. Let's begin to itemize. Notice the Save button letting me know that I'm required to itemize. There are some fields that I need to complete, like the business purpose. Remember, as we're submitting one report each month, the business purpose for each expense entry may be a little different from expense entry to expense entry. So the business purpose was a client meeting. Everything is the same. Is this for foreign expenses? No. So we're going to click Itemize. Let's make this bigger. Lodging expense page. You're only to enter those automatic recurring charges. Was I room rate every night? Was I charged tax every night? Was I charged internet? If there's items that you would charge just one of the nights or maybe two of the nights, do not enter those one-time transactions here. I will show you where to add those later. So we checked out on this date, and we were there for 3 nights. When I tab, notice the check-in date's going to populate. I need to enter what I was charged for the room rate and tax. I was charged for most nights of my stay, $175 with a room rate of $25. Now down, there's going to be additional tax fields or additional charges each night. This is not where I'm going to add one-time transactions. This is where I'm going to add anything that I also was charged every night. And in this example, that's parking. So appropriate expense type. And parking. And I'm $10 for every night of my stay. When I click Save Itemizations, the system's going to get the number of nights and multiply them by the amount and to create those itemizations for me. I will not be able to save until this remaining balance has been resolved. So this remaining balance needs to be 0. Situations where you may be charged a different night for one of your stays there. That's easy enough. Let's put that one night in edit mode, and now you'll see it combined the room rate and tax. Well, that's $5 more for this night. I'll just change the amount for this one night and click Save. Use that one night to reflect $205 a night. So if I have one-time transactions, let's say home service or I was charged for internet, that I'll add those items now. But for example, I have a business meal that was not just for myself. As you can see, your business meals here. You're going to see a business meal that relates to others. So you're notice we have employee meals, we have business meals, and as I found, we have entertainment expense. So please keep those in mind, the differences. Depending on the expense type that you select, it will require you to list those attendees. Okay. I apologize. I don't know why it's taking so long. It usually doesn't do this. To escape out, it may stop it and kick me out of the report, and I'll just come back in. Okay, let me do that. Onto the report. And we're itemizing this hotel. Apologize for that. So I'm going to go back to our entertainment expense. Clients and other employees within the hotel restaurant. I need to ensure the date that's on my receipt for this expense matches the date that's listed here. Next, enter the full amount of this expense. If I'm going to notice, I have a list of attendees. If attendee is in my list, I can then to type in their name and to appear, or the group name. If I need to search or add a new attendee on the fly, I can click on Favorites. That gives me all 5 options to search for an attendee, favorites, recently used, or my groups. Or to add a new attendee that's not in my favorite attendees list, I can do so at this time. But I'm just going to add several attendees and click Add to Expense. Now, added to my report, the amounts are equally distributed between all the attendees. Now, before I save, I'm going to take this to one next level. For example, I had other J.M. Huber employees at this meal to hit their cost center as well, because all the charge is not going to my cost center. So I'm going to allocate to make sure that for those individuals, it's hitting the appropriate cost center. I did nothing. 100% is charged to the company code, SBU, this site, this cost center, and so on that I am affiliated with. Many cross charges or allocations as I need. We're 2 in this example. Not comfortable with percentages, that's fine. You change them to amount. This is to help you by equally distributing those items, but if you want to switch it to 80-20, 90-10, you can. We're going to do 50-50. If you change any of these items, just click into the field and view the drop-down of options. So let's say we're going to put this between 2 items. And to show, you'll just click into those fields to show them. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to say corporate to HEM and intercompany. So this is corporate. We're going to select HEM. You'll see the differences we have here. And typing in HEM doesn't seem to appear. And on these items, well, I will select one. I don't see an HEM, so we're going to select these items. I apologize with that. I don't see the HEM. So we'll do, if you have any questions with this, with the different cost centers, move over. I have my screen so large I can't see all of it. That you can contact the finance department or Gina Dunlap if you have any questions. But you cross-charge these to more than one cost center or SU or site and so on. So now I click Save. When I click Save, it lets me know that it has been saved. green is not going to go away just in case I need to cross-charge some additional items. I'm going to select Done. Now, what you see here, I have this new icon indicating that it's been cross-charged, and there's a pie chart. If I put my mouse over it, I can see the allocations really quickly. I can't change them here, but I can see them. If I change them, I'll go back into Allocate. It's going to be with this icon. It'll let me see the summary. I can't change them here, but I can go back in and change them into the actual expense entry. So I'm going to click Save. The last item I have is a balance of $5. This is going to be a personal expense that was placed on the corporate card. I need to explain to the company where $5 of their funds went to. Now, expenses will be deducted from any reimbursements that you receive for cash out-of-pocket expenses. If you have enough cash out-of-pocket to offset the personal expense, you will be contacted at a later date by Annie DeYoung to let you know how much you need to send the check in for. Checks will need to be sent unless you can request to do so by Annie, because they have to be for the exact amount that is owed to Jay and Huber. So in this example, I had an in-room movie, something I was not supposed to put on the company card. And what I need to do is need to explain what happened to those funds. I still tell me to place them on my own credit card, but that's not what happened. So you'll see all the expense types that are here. You will go through all of these to make sure you find the right one that's going to coincide with the expense type that you're wanting. So I'm scrolling down slowly so that you can see the types that are listed here. Okay. For this example, we're just going to say it's a breakfast or a one-time transaction. For the date matches, and I'm going to enter the amount. Now, if this was an item, you would check this box. But again, you're not to put those expenses on the core card. Expense reviews, so I'm going to roll them up. We have expenses to add to our report. This one is going to be one that's not on the corporate card. If it was a corporate card expense, I would go back to Import. Expense that was out of pocket, I'm here and select the expense type first. I list, or I can narrow down the list by putting in a portion name, and it will narrow it down. So my personal car mileage, you can see rates here by clicking on the View Reimbursement Rates. Your transaction date, which will be all of your mileage. You can put the end of the month date if that's what works for you. Now, you can put your monthly mileage as one expense line item, but keep in mind if you do so, you will need to enter a comment to justify that one line entry. The per trip is going to be client meeting, and I get the from and to location along with the mileage. Now, if I fail to reset my odometer, I always use the mileage calculator, which is here to assist me if I know the from to location and the distance. When I'm on mileage calculator, it's open what we call Google Maps, and you're going to see all of your company's locations here on this map. Let me zoom in. Better. For example, let's just come down and let's say that we have one of our Texas locations. So let's this Houston location. I'm going to click on it. This is going to place the address there. And if I went to a client site, and for the sake of training, I'm just a city and state, but you will need to enter the complete address. So let's say I went to Huntsville, Texas. It's going to be the mileage, and it's going to show you the suggested route that you will need to take in order to get here. If you add a third point, because you're completing on a monthly basis, note that it's going to continue to calculate the mileage for you. When I add mileage to expense, notice that it's going to add the distance. Keep in mind that it does not accept decimals, so you need to round that number depending on whether it's above 5 or below. And now I'm going to click Save. But remember, before we do so, you will need to enter a comment if you have one line item for the full month. Now we'll click Save. is, what if I go to another country and I have to deal with currency? When I'm using my corporate card, it's going to import in that currency. It's going to be grand because it's going to do most of the work for me. But what if that taxi only accepts cash if I'm using taxi as an example, or only uses a certain credit card and I have to use my personal credit card? They're going to have to deal with manually converting that currency. So let's select taxi. It's very, very, very important when you're dealing with foreign currency that you select the actual date that the goods and services were purchased, as this is going to drive the exchange rate. So now what I do is I can complete the rest of the required fields. Note, if I'm not using my corporate card, cash is my only option. The amount and enter the currency, but I'm comfortable with doing that. It's okay. I can tell the system what city I was located in, and it'll tell me what currency was used. So if I go to the city field, it shows my most recently used cities. Say that I went to Paris. And you'll note if I went to, let me keep typing it in to narrow it down. There we are. I have two R's in there. It's to see what currency was used there. It's to look at this state and tell me exactly what exchange rate was used. So actually it was 60 euros. When I type that in, it's going to convert back to my currency, which is $66.91. Next, you'll answer the additional questions. Is this for foreign expense? And you can say yes or no. And then we leave this expense. Okay? Now, we do have one last item that needs to be pointed out. Notice this has an exception, and we will not be able to continue until it's resolved. We'll put in the business purpose. We'll make sure that the city of purchase is correct, and New Jersey is not what it's accepting. So we need to make sure that it's correct. We'll select Newark, New Jersey, and save. Begin to continue. Let's look at things before we add those receipts. I can also go back and change my report header. I can always come back in and allocate my entire report. And I do mind you that CP Kelco will not be allocating. Okay, everyone will be able to do so except CP Kelco. Okay, I can go back and change. And lastly, I need to look at these new items that are here. This lets me know that a receipt image is required. Now, anything that's $75 and over require a receipt. And if it's on travel expense, like office supplies or computer equipment, you will need to attach a receipt. There are ways to attach a receipt. I'll view all of them, and you're going to select the option that works best for you. Okay? Remember, if this icon is present, you will need to attach that receipt image. If the e-receipt is listed, the receipt has been attached for you. Now, there's a new policy change when it comes to receipts. You will be required to attach the receipts prior to submission of the expense report for your manager to approve. So the report will not be submitted without the receipts attached. So we have to do this before we can continue. The first option is to fax them in. I'll print, and I will select the JMH fax receipt cover page. This cover page is unique to the expense report. I can't reuse it next month or the month after that. It's all the items that require receipts. As it didn't list my airfare because it knows that the receipt is attached. I'm going to print out this fax cover page. I'm going to fax it in with the receipts. This barcode is going to a scanning system. It's not really a person at the other side waiting for your fax. This barcode tells it what company you're with, tells them who you are, exactly which expense report to attach these receipts to. Once faxed in those receipts, always confirm that they're here by going to check receipts. We fax something that was too dark, too light, or never came through, so make sure they're here. is to scan and attach those receipts. So I'm going to go attach receipt images. How you decide to scan and attach and save them will determine how you're going to attach them here. You will need to save them in one of the formats that we see here, and you want the ability to attach up to 10 5-megabyte files. So let imagination for just a second and say that we have 4 items that require a receipt image. You can actually scan, save 4 times, or tape several to a sheet of paper within reason, and that way. Explain both options, how to attach them to an individual entry or attach them to the entire expense report. So let's say for this particular expense entry, we have the receipt saved. I'm browse to where I have it saved. Attach receipt. And I'm going to get to this one line item. The gray icon that was once there is turned green, if you can see it in the background. Your imagination just a little bit still. I have 3 more items that require receipt. I want to do that 3 more times. So what I do is I actually attach several sheets of paper, as long as they're legible and within reason, and I attach them to the entire report. So I'm not going to select the checkbox. When I select this box, I'm saying that I'm attaching this one receipt. If I'm attaching receipts to the entire report, I do not check this box. I go directly to Browse, and I find where those receipts are located, and click. If there's more, but in this example, we're just going to click Upload, and I'm closed. So a lot of people is that this icon does not go away. The reason is that it knows you've attached receipts, but it cannot confirm that you've attached a receipt for this taxi. So know you've attached the receipts, don't worry. Now we're in the actual entry. You saw the ability to attach a receipt image here on Fly as well. You will see your receipts for items, and you have the ability to attach. Use the scan and upload like we just did. And that's a new word for you. I said receipt store. Let's talk about receipt store. Receipt store will provide you with the ability to email in your receipts. In order to do so, you will need to set up your receipt store. First, I'm going to go over to the receipt store for you, and you will see your JM Huber email address by default. Whatever email addresses that you have listed here will be only email address in which the system will accept emails from you. So you can't just randomly email from any email address. So for email address that you list, you will need to click Submit. And in the email account, you'll receive a verification code that you copy and paste here. You to 3. You can only validate it once. So if I validate under my account and I'm delegating this for someone else, I cannot validate my email account under their account as well. I need to make that decision because it's going to always attach receipts that are emailed from this account to my account. Once validated, under step 2, the email address. Suggest that you save this as one of your contacts. When you fill in those receipts, they're going to live here. You can drop them into your report. As you saw earlier, if you're in the actual expense, you can attach the receipt image from there if that's an option you decide to make. There's use the receipt store. I use it personally with my camera phone. I'm not saying there's an app. I'm saying that with my mobile phone, I have email capability and I camera phone. I take a picture of it and I email it into my receipt store, and it's waiting for me for when I'm ready to create and submit that report. Okay? So now we'll close the receipt store. When all of our red exceptions have been resolved, or we won't be able to submit, we need to make sure all of our receipts are attached, and now we can submit our expense report. Through the terms and conditions. If you fail to attach receipt, you can attach them at this time if you would like to. Then we can continue. So now I'm going to click Accept and Submit, and it's going to be removed my account, sent to my approver. Okay. Here we are. It's in the approver's queue. Here's the disbursements, so please be aware of the disbursements. And now I can click Close. Now it's me to my View Reports page where I can see both my current and historical reports. Go back into a report. I can do so by clicking in this line. It's never in my queue. If I click into any of these items, notice they're grayed out. But if I call it, it's going to remove it from whoever's queue it's in and place it back into my queue. I can delete the report, add more items to it, resubmit, because it will then be my queue. The recall button will be here as long as it has not been approved. When approved, it is removed. Go back to my Concur homepage. Now scrolling down, I'm going to pull this section up. I'm my mouse over the darker section, and that's my left mouse button, that is. And I'm going to drag it to wherever I want it to remain on this page. So I'm going to have to scroll each time. Here, report. Here's status. I place my mouse over this button. It tells me my comment that I added to the report header. So next out, and we're going to log in as the approver. Now, the approver, I will know that there's something in my queue if I have my email option turned on. Now it's time for me to log in. I want to point out what it's like to be a delegate. If I'm someone's delegate, I will name in the drop-down. I click on it. Notice this looks very familiar to us. This is the account that we were just in. Okay. I want to leave an audit trail that's saying that it's Kevin completing an expense report for Jeff. But now let's back into our own account by selecting me. So you can see the comment. Click on report name. It's going to open the actual expense report. I'll see here to write a summary. So you'll see the amount that's going to be due to the company and the amount that's due to the employee. The exceptions, because there are exceptions that you will see as the approver that the end user did not see. I'm going to hide these exceptions. And I can go into every single entry and view the details. Note if something is incorrect, I cannot resolve it. I will send it back to the end user so that they resolve the issue. So go to the entries. The nice perks of an e-receipt is next to the expense tab, there's going to be an e-receipt tab where you can see the actual receipt side by side with the entry. Or if the individual submitted the receipts at the line item level, you will be able to see a receipt image tab. So you can toggle between the two. If the person submitted the receipts at the report level, you go to the receipts drop-down, and you can a pop-up window or what I suggest in the current window. I'm not going to maximize them because these are real receipts, but you will be able to see the receipts along with the entry. When you're the receipts, make sure that the vendor matches, and most importantly, the date matches the actual date of the expense entry. The ability to out the items. If you want to see the detailed reports, you could see it here to see more details as well as the approver. Okay? So you have all the options here. If you want to see the actual allocations or the attendees, you can place your mouse over the items and go into them this way. Okay? So again, if it's been attendees, you'll see them here. I can close this. Or if it's been allocated, you'll see the pie chart as well. If you like this view, you can always go into this line item by clicking on it, and you'll be able to see the attendees or click allocate to see the allocations. So the same options are available for you as the approver or for the end user. Make a decision. We'll not be using approve and forward, so we will not be discussing this. Next, approve. This means the receipts are attached, everything's correct, and it needs to go to the next step in the approval workflow. If you find something incorrect, you will need to send the expense report back to the end user. Please be detailed. Do not use lingo that's just common between you and that person, because this is going to live in the audit trail. So if you're ever audited, this comment could be very crucial in that time point. So exactly what needs to be done, it's going to move from my queue when I click OK, and you get a confirmation it's sent back to the employee. If there are items in my queue to approve, you would click on them, but we're going to out and log back in really briefly as the end user. By the end user, I will know it's been sent back. How? Because I actually receive an email letting me know that the report's been returned. If not, I'll just need to remind myself to ensure that everything's okay. So here there's a fresh button. There's that lets me know that it needs to be returned. Here's the comment, and note that the comment has now been replaced by my approver's comment. And use status. If I clear into the report, it's now back in my queue. If I click anything, I can now make changes and delete the report. I can buy and resubmit. And I do want to point out, at any time, not because it's sent back, at any time I can go to the audit trail and see who all has seen and touched my items. We view the receipts for the airfare, for the hotel, and for the entire report. So it goes to level of detail. So now the My Concur homepage. I want several items to you. Understand that reports are going to be submitted on a monthly basis. But once in a situation where I have a dispute, so if you have a dispute for your credit card transaction, you will need to contact Citibank and complete a dispute form. You have a dispute form located on the Huber Internet site for you to test when needed. You will make sure that your receipts are attached to that report before you submit. And lastly, I want to point out, everything that we've talked about can be completed using your mobile phone. If I go to my profile, I will see the ability to download the app to my mobile device. If I'm a user, email the link to myself and open and download my mobile phone. iPhone and iPad users, go to the App Store, search by Concur, and download this mobile device. In Play Store, I can search there by Concur, or download by this barcode. If you need instructions or demos on any of these various apps, click on the Learn More button for that particular mobile device. You do have a password for the desktop version, but you will need to set up a PIN for the mobile version. So that will give you the same ability to notify your travel reservations, create an expense report, submit expense report, and approve it. The difference, I don't want you to confuse this with what I said I do with my mobile phone by emailing in receipts. I don't have an app when I do that. What I do, if I use the app, I actually log in and begin the expense report, or what many of you most likely will do is to begin the expense report at the beginning of the month. As those expenses occur, you can begin to add the details to the entry using your mobile phone. What I'm going to do at this time, I'm going to go back to the main page and unmute the lines for any questions that you may have.
Those unmuted your line.
I have a question.
Yes.
You allocate, or that individuals who are traveling and allocate expenses to another SBU. Are you able to do that at the allocation page?
I'm going there. I don't know if you could see that I was going there. Let's just say it's this taxi. We're just selecting any expense, and we're going to go to allocate. My screen's rather large, so I've got to move this over. The question is, can you...
Okay, sorry. You can do the allocation at the allocation page. My question is, though, does on the approval go to the new allocation SBU for approval also?
I'm not sure of your workflow, Annie, or can you? Well, is it going to go directly there?
If you allocate to another department within your company unit, Annie does the processing to extract the data out of Concur. She will route that expense report for a second level of approval in addition to your direct manager's approval by the cost center owner.
Okay, it does go to another approval. Okay.
Yes, it will.
Question here. Can you put in an international mobile number that you can will respond with the ID if you want to upload the app onto your phone?
Your app is used worldwide, so as long as your mobile phone is a smartphone, it can use your mobile.
Submitting the reports monthly, it starts at the first of the month and you go through the last day and then you can submit it after the last date of the month?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Employee meals are going to be required regardless of the amount for that employee meal, or is there still going to be an exception of a dollar amount before receipts are needed?
Receipts will be required for any expense $75 and over, and then any non-travel expenses such as postage or office supplies or things of that nature, receipts are required regardless of the dollar amount. And what's nice about Concur is the system will tell you what receipts are required. We didn't have functionality before.
My question, so if you had an AIA presentation where you had to list out all the attendees, you have to list out all the attendees as well that you're doing over and over.
Yes, and then if you ever use those same attendees again, they'll be there for you to use at a later date.
Question about filing for hourly employees here. This is Kim in Marble Hill. Currently I've got 4 people that need to claim mileage or other expenses. An easy way for me to file on their behalf other than them going in and making me a delegate, or is that the way it has to be done?
If chance that they are set up in the Concur system, if they're set up, then they can file an expense report for cash out-of-pocket mileage only. They don't have to be a card holder.
I know that, but they don't. A lot of the people here don't even go onto the system. I'm sure they've not even set up accounts, and I've always claimed for the old system. So I was looking for the easiest way to do that.
My recommendation would be to set up as a user if they're going to be filing mileage on a regular basis. If it's a one-off situation, you could do as you have been doing in the past and file on their behalf.
Go in and how do I do that? How do I file on their behalf?
Are you a Concur user? Did you get a username and password?
I do. I have monthly mileage. I have a username and password, but can I file for them on mine?
Yeah, like I said, if they're going to do it on a incur mileage on a regular basis, we prefer to set them up in the system, and you can contact Annie DeYoung, and she can give whatever forms need to be filled out to get them set up. If it's a one-off situation, like once a year, you could file it on your expense report if you want to, and you just create an expense report and click on New Expense, and select the mileage expense type. In the comment, you could put that mileage was for.
Paid. I do?
if your ACH information is in your vendor record, then you would be the one who would get reimbursed. That's why I don't recommend that. I'd recommend that the user be set up in Concur.
I'm going to have to get with Annie because I don't want to be paying out of my own, account.
Right.
And they're rare. They're not. They'd be once or twice a year type situation.
I had a question. If I heard right, you said it had to be turned in prior to approval. What will be the procedure for in case, per chance, you might have lost a receipt?
If exhausted all efforts to obtain the receipt by contacting the vendor or doing whatever you can to obtain that receipt, we do have a missing receipt form that should be, we can post it on the Huber Internet travel site, or you can get one from Annie DeYoung, and then you'll take that receipt form and get it approved by your manager and set it as a missing receipt.
Okay, perhaps I'm familiar with that missing receipt. I'm just trying to apply it to this new Concur because I don't see a place in here to put in if it's asking for a receipt. Will that go away once we approve through our system?
Upload that form, your approved. Once you get it approved by your manager, you can upload the receipt, missing receipt form, or fax it in. As just showed you, you would submit it as if it was a receipt, but it will actually be your missing receipt form approved by your manager.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For current currency, is there an override for the exchange rate? Because you're paying cash and receive your cash on a different day than when the transaction happens.
Yes, it can be overridden, and I believe, Tasha, isn't there like a tolerance built in there? 3%.
Yes, it is. If it's a huge difference between the OANDA rate that's pre-populated and what, let's for example, it's 1.28 if you're looking at the screen, and I believe it's going to go entire whole number, or depending on what thresholds you decided to configure into your site. But you can just easily come in and override with what's here.
Told us there's like a 3% tolerance rate in there.
Yeah, and then you can change it if needed, but yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Are there any questions?
Yes. You set up the account and you're setting up your SunTrust card, right?
Your Visa.
Your corporate card. Can you also set up a personal card to get your mileage on your personal card and use that to charge the airfare?
You should use your personal card as a last resort if you are going to book travel for business reasons. You would need to use your Citibank card.
Policy. That's a Huber travel policy.
Any other questions? I want to remind you that here under the company info section, make sure that you go through these steps before you begin the process. You have links available to help you. And there's also a help link located here at the top of the screen. There is help readily at your fingertips as you begin the process of creating expense reports and creating those travel bookings. Okay, well, are there any questions before we end our session? All and good luck using Concur Travel and Expense.